Cachucho is a Japanese term for chit-chat. It's a highly engaging format where the rules are simple. Presentation contains 20 slides displayed for precisely 20 seconds, and the total time obviously is 40 seconds, and we have
6 minutes 40 seconds.
Albie, I'm the MC, thank you. Okay. So today we have 5 amazing presentations, and we're going to start with them shortly. Up first, if we're ready to go, we have KK onto the stage. KK Ribane is a co-founder of the first digital art NFT gallery in Africa, Usurpa. And with his presentation, he'll take us through the digital art and NFT, a future marketplace. How apt. Please welcome the amazing KK onto the stage for our first Cachucho contestant or presentation.
Dumelang. Hello everyone. How are you doing? My name is Ribane, co-founder of digital gallery Usurpa. And thank you so much for being here.
All right, KK, you ready? Here we go. Timer starts now.
All right, so today we present to you a very exciting opportunity to be part of something called Usurpa. Usurpa meaning literally to usurp, right? To usurp comes from the concept of legally or by force, and that's what it's for. It's more usurping the idea of what it is to be a person to dethrone. But our mission here is literally to empower the creatives. And by empowering the creatives, because they are the platform, we are bringing fine art and technology together. And by doing so is bringing a new way of how people are experiencing NFTs, and in a new light, they have been saying that NFTs, digital art, is it had a bubble burst. And initially now we're looking at a new way of experiencing digital art, more calling it digital collectibles. So what we've been doing is collecting fine artists who are the storytellers, the narrative storytellers of our generation, because they're the ones who are the ones pioneering. So we have amazing artists like Snalo, Baba Jeko, and what we've done is collaborate with Samsung, bringing technology and African narratives together. And that's been a very powerful tool, is how do we bring technology and innovation, and most importantly, the African narrative. So we believe in the power of creators and the wealth of their vision, and their stories are ready to be told. The beautiful thing about this opportunity is that these are stories that are powerful, and they mean a lot for us as creatives. And to have a physical space that we can celebrate digital art and have moments that we can have a community to find out what it means to have these spaces, what it means to have community within the digital art space. Because for the longest time, it's been seen that digital art is easy. You can do it overnight. But having the practicality of creating within the technology is quite an important tool, that not overnight you can be a digital artist. And for that, we wanted to introduce digital art even for women. The more important thing was what we did with Women's Month, is having an amazing Women's Month exhibition where we actually empower young children, young artists, young female artists to create within the space. And what we were able to do is have them in our spaces so that we can amplify their stories, and also have, we have a problem with access in our country, right, where people don't have the access to technology. So the ceiling is quite high, where access to technology is really a very powerful thing. So what we do is bring the technology to the young kids who don't have the privileges to use this technology to create a storytelling. Because what's very important here is to bring African narrative with innovation. And our vision is to bring tech labs to Africa, to have more tech labs so we can bring moments like Esther Mahlangu's moments and BMW together. And the stories are ready to be told. The important thing about using the digital experience is that these NFTs have an powerful tool of provenance. Provenance is being able to have a story and also royalties within your digital art piece. So when someone resells your art piece, you get royalties in perpetuity. And that's a benefactor, is that artists can live for the long term and still get royalties even after a resale. So it's not really about what the world is saying about what digital art is, it's about how we use this opportunity, right? So how we use this opportunity of what digital art can do for Africa. That's the important thing, is that we need to create more important moments for Africa to evolve and expand within the digital landscape. Thank you very much. That was
Go ahead. Thank you so much. So Cachucho is done for KK, and we have the questions now. Go ahead. We have 3 minutes for
Starting
KK's
clock.
questions.
Now, here we go.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
What's your methodology to recruit, to find these young creatives that need your accessibility programs?
So what we do, we have an open channel. I'm one of the co-founders and curators. So what you're able to do, you can send us an email and on our Instagram, reach out to us. We do respond, and we also expand how we can also collaborate with an update of what we're doing during the course of the year and how your artwork or your story can fit to the course of the year. And we're an open space. So not only do we do exhibitions, but we're also open to people wanting to have experiences in the space. Because what's very important is the space we have is very dynamic. So because of the screens that we have, you're able to change the space in one way or the other. In one moment, it can be a fashion exhibition. Another moment, it can be an art exhibition. But it's the ability to have multiple things happen in one space, but in different conversations that are able to happen. It's what we do on the ground with technology that amplifies our stories.
1 minute, 40 seconds. Next question.
Is there any specific communities that you target, and how can artists reach out to you?
Okay. So there's no specific about who we're trying to target, especially a lot of physical artists, painters approach us and say, I want to see my work digitized. What we also do is facilitate with them to create digital art pieces and transform them and have a different story within your digital piece. So now your digital piece is able to move, change, grow, can even blink. And that's the power of innovation, is that you're able to see technology differently and experience art in a new way. An example, we had Cynthia Mulanga, who did physical pieces. And what we did was expand her story, which was about a dollhouse and representation about the dollhouse. So now we get to see how she plays within the dollhouse. But just check it on our social media. You get to feel the experience of what it is to evolve the artworks.
Thanks, KK. 30 seconds.
Not a question, just a statement. As an artist who's worked out of Usurpa, thank you for the program and the platform. It's really been lit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, KK, and fantastic Cachucho. We're done. We've got one down, Cachucho. We've got another one. Next up is someone who needs no introduction, ByLwansta. He's going to take us through the significance of visual communication on the consumption of music in the digital age. Take it away, ByLwansta.
Good morning. I hope you guys are well. My name is ByLwansta. Oh no, nailed it. I think I'll even alternate sometimes. I'm a creative director and I'm a musician. And I'm very happy to be here. Very excited.
ByLwansta, you ready?
Yes.
Can we start the clock?
Let's go.
And start the presentation.
Okay, great. So I want to talk to you guys about things that I care about. Let's talk about the art of not selling music in the music's digital age. So, you know, when you think about world building, you think about storytelling, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Because when you think of selling music, what comes to mind? Money versus product. And if you look at where we are right now, we're in the digital age. And just for context, we are coming from here. The music used to be this big, 30 by 30, right? You could appreciate the cover art. A couple years later, we became here. And now today, we are consuming music on our devices on a thumbnail. So now if we reframe what we mean by selling music, traditionally we know if you want a vinyl, if you want a CD, money exchanged, and then you get the product. But in the digital age, streaming age, do you guys know how much people are making from streaming for a song? 0.0 something cents on Spotify. So in my mind, I've decided, let me try figure out a way to figure out other ways of selling music that aren't necessarily conventional. Here's a CD. You can sell music through merchandise. What does it say? I can't remember. Oh, someone's got to do it. Yeah. Good. And then also through live experience, you know. So here's a controversial take. I don't think the music is the product like it used to. You know, you can't, again, when you want to experience music right now, you go to your app, and then you don't even know how much the artist is making. So you have to think about alternative streams of income as an artist, and actually as an artist entrepreneur. So in my mind, I've taken it to brand-related revenue, because that's also how you trickle into live experience. That's also how you trickle into merchandise. But people now need to prioritize the value of the artist brand as the artist, as a way to kind of leverage your influence, you know, platforms, being on television, and all sorts of things. AKA said in Luri's keynote, my music videos are adverts for brand AKA. He's already separated himself, and he's able to see AKA as the brand, and that opens doors to partnerships like the Cruise partnership and the Reebok partnership, because now the music becomes soundtrack as opposed to the product. And I mentioned world building, and the references I put up here are mainly cartoons, because when you create cartoons, you're creating something people didn't have before. No one had a reference for Jake and Finn up until it was created from someone's mind, you know? So world building as an exercise, the first step into creating a modern release, you know, and then partnering up with storytelling. Because what's actually happening now, we're no longer selling music, we're selling an emotional connection. We're storytelling. Not everybody likes hip hop, not everybody likes amapiano, but everybody likes a good story. So if we take the narrative from the music, build a world around it, you know, put it on a t-shirt, we arrive at emotional connection, because it's not the music business anymore, it's the human business. You know, we're not making music for instruments, we're making music for people. And for me personally, as someone who feels a little bit lonely a lot of the time, I create my music, you know, in an attempt to send it out into the world and find out, okay, who relates? You know, and Kendrick Lamar said, he's not in the music business, he's been in the human business. And I love that, because that particular album that is from is one way he puts himself through therapy. He becomes accountable through a lot of things. It's the human business. So prioritizing a human connection over streams and numbers is where it's at for me. And that bleeds into this new campaign. I released an album this morning at midnight. This is it. It's called The Chip is Stale. And our campaign was called Stop Ignoring the Signs. So we found a beautiful parallel between older vehicles. I drive an Opel Corsa Light 2005, and its underlying issues. Number 7 burnt the alternator, and then I inherited that. And now when I break down, I realize, oh, my alternator burnt a long time ago. You know, so exploring these parallels. So this is her, this is Light of My Life. I found these beautiful parallels between, this is our protagonist, our hero, because we're storytelling now. You know, and a lot of people own older cars, and a lot of people own the Opel Corsa Light. So we started our digital narrative, our digital rollout campaign for this album called Stop Ignoring the Signs by, firstly, I'm a romantic. As soon as my car blew up, I just opened the bonnet and I pulled my phone out. It's not the first thing you want to do, but I knew we're rolling out at some point. So this is the story we started telling. We start off by, where did our hero go? Oh, he dipped. And then in an attempt to fix this vehicle, to do the work on this vehicle, guess what we were doing? We were actually doing the work on ourselves. So I acknowledge that I disqualify myself sometimes. I'm an oversharer. I'm avoidant as well. You know, these things are things I'm discovering while doing the work on my vehicle and of myself. And I like to say, me and my car share some things in common. We're both tired a lot of the time. And I always, when I look at this manual for this Opel Corsa, I think, imagine one for humans, right? So when we put out the CD, for this album, it actually says owner's manual. And then you open it, and you find that there's a song attached to each sign because your oil light is your personal oil light. So what we did, the whole time we're not selling music. We introduced the music gradually at some point as a soundtrack to this narrative that we're painting, you know. So these records, you can see the cover art is speaking to the aesthetic of the current album and the narrative. You know, it's about, you know, engaging people and giving them soundtracks to their lives, right? So this is what people were saying, you know, people needed to hear some of the things about oversharing. You know, people were asking me about where can they get their own wiper. They couldn't find a wiper. You know, there's a community thing happening, a human thing happening, you know what I'm saying? And that was the point of this, right? And like in good stories, there's always like that climax where, you know, you win as a person. And someone got in touch with me at Opal and said, hey, hold on to this new car for a little bit. And now, this is what I'm driving right now. Because I've been fixing my Corsa so many times, guys. It was just like, okay, that's how we bond. But at some point, it needs to change. So I'm in a newer vehicle for a couple of months, and this is the chip is stale because the chips on my shoulder were stale and they stink, and I needed to address them, and I did it through this album. And yeah, stop ignoring the signs. Thank you.
Thanks, ByLwansta. All right, so you ready?
Let's go.
Let's start with 3 minutes starting now. Go.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so tell me, we now know your story.
Yes.
What's your service and who's your target market?
Fantastic. So I'm actually also the founder of a company called Normal. We're a creative agency, we're a record label, and we're an events property. We like to operate within music, ideally. So this is a solution that we've come up with internally that we're going to offer to our peers in the music industry. But we're not just limited to the music industry. My background is as a creative director and graphic designer, so, you know, I'm happy to build brands. Yeah. Oh, actually, for everybody, I've got stickers, guys, for the album. We put out the album. I'll just throw them. I'm kidding.
All right, next question. Yeah.
Can you please drop us the quick 16?
I've been listening to Riders on the Storm. No Snoop, it's just the Doors. Because this is not a game anymore. There's real killers on the road, and they probably have nothing left to lose. And my need for speed will probably leave me underground too, because I push it down to the floor. The clutch cable snaps on the decline. We fall forward fast because we move in the meantime. It's DIY, Poppy baby. Someone's got a DI, independent. Like a diamond in a necklace. I kind of started skipping breakfast. I make a coffee, couple ice cubes, and down it in a matter of seconds. No time to sip it, because time ticks, and just like it, I'm to-do list ticking. It's my time, Twana. If it isn't, then whose is it? Who do I have to visit? Give a couple of tickets so they can come and see the bras and me kill it. I'm a bit of a villain. You see that Corsa light pull up, you were fine till you noticed who's in it.
Hello. Oh, wow. It's very creative. I'm also a creative. Well, I'm not in the music, but I'm in fashion. Yes. And I see that you guys doing a lot of merch, and you are very influential in your space. My biggest concern in fashion is that everything that we produce pollutes the planet, whether it's cotton, whether it's polyester or anything. So is there anything that you are doing to then change that narrative, the product that you're putting out, that is more sustainable and is less harmful to the planet and the people, seeing that this is a human?
Yes, that's beautiful. I like that, because you've also given me something to take to the team. But I think, and even unintentionally, what we want to do is do very limited runs. I mean, it's still, at the end of the day, damage and it doesn't make us any better if we're doing less or more. But I think what you brought to my attention means that we're going to do maybe even like 5 T-shirts, never again. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, you know, we do have alternative means of merchandise. It's just something about T-shirts is just so special. So if we can maybe give some thought, because we haven't even produced them yet. And I think before we do, oh, there we go. I like this. This is great. 5 seconds.
3, 2,
Can
1.
I drop the mic?
Thanks, ByLwansta. Mic drop.
Woo! Nice. Nice work. And let's give it up for our ASL, who was dropping the mic, dropping doing a one beat with you as well. The art of storytelling is certainly alive and well, the digital age, through art, KK, music, ByLwansta. And next we have Jeani Varty, who's a creative of South African digital arts community on Discord, the dynamic creator and visual development artist. Please welcome Jeani, who's our next Picture Kucha presenter.
Am I on? Okay, cool. I'm bad at hearing, so if you can hear me, let me know. I come to you today as but a humble artist. I am not nearly as flashy and as cool as these people. You guys really intimidate me. Have we begun?
Are you ready?
I think I'm ready.
Here we go.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Jeani Varty. I am a visual development and digital artist working in animation. I'm a director as well, and I primarily find myself doing community building and remote work. I'm here to share with you one of my personal projects today, one I'm particularly excited about, called Jungles. So Jungles, to me, is more than a normal story. It is a reflection of my own life growing up, coming to the city as a little village girl, and navigating a lot of challenges that I found along the way. Its development has been very slow, but a very fulfilling process. Okay, we get the time. So the genesis of Jungles started with a simple character idea that I just started drawing this character, and I started to make up worlds around her, and I very soon realized she relates so much to me. I really liked her interaction with animals and with the world around her, and I started developing her story more. So here is the story. Meet Olive. She is a 19-year-old architect who has left her small village to come to the big city and pursue her dreams of creating economic and sustainable living solutions for people. She's very meek and very timid, but she's very passionate and enthusiastic. We also have Oka, who is a very laid-back and pampered girl from her tribe. She dreams of being a hunter and making weapons, but it's taboo in her tribe. And she actually gets kicked out of it when she decides she's going to start taking weapons for herself, something that is not permitted for women in her clan. So she's exiled, and this is where we meet our supporting cast. These are appropriately cousins, millions of years apart. We have Car, a Carnotaurus, and he is a big creature that Oka runs into and forms a bond with. And Klux, who is our modern character's little roommate. She's really messy and noisy, but she serves a purpose as well. We have the story which is about two women separated by millions of years experiencing their first week as independent young adults. Oka's just been kicked out of her clan, and Olive has just moved to a dingy little apartment, and they now need to make their mark on the world. Throughout their week, they start encountering new challenges. Oka discovers all of her attempts at traps and weapon making are falling short because all of them are being sprung by another dinosaur that threatens her survival. Olive, on the other hand, is having all of her ideas at work stolen by her higher up, and she realizes they're good ideas but doesn't know how to speak up. The story culminates where Oka finally realizes and values the tools she took for granted and learns how to use them appropriately, and with the help of her Carnotaur, she defeats this other creature. Olive, on the other hand, completely embraces her wild side. She goes full cave woman, starts swinging from the chandeliers to run down this person who's been stealing her work. The world of the story is intended to be a reflection of both nature and man-made stuff. It's to be very rough and very textured and have a lot of similarities as we flow between the story of the two women throughout their weeks. So at its core, it is about independence. It also speaks to how stories play a very vital role in how we develop. So the tone of the story is very whimsical and wondrous. It is a fantasy, and it centers on themes of nature, independence, and feminism. It also has a look at a journey of this nature. So I started getting really interested into that transition period. And through Eric Ilsen's psychological analysis, we found that this is one of the most tumultuous times in life. This is where people solidify their identity and community. This is where they really learn what their own voice is. And I felt like that's a necessary journey to share. My own journey is very much inspired by this. I grew up reading Clan of the Cave Bear, and my first hope was to become a hunter-gatherer, and I was told that's not a real job. But as I discovered when I got to university, being a really broke student, having read this book, I now knew what plants to forage, and I could actually supplement my diet through urban foraging. It was a really tumultuous time. It was very difficult going through public parks. I was really that broke. But I realized the value of that story. It taught me skills I needed to know without even knowing that I was being educated. And I really hope that this story can do that for others. So, being an independent filmmaker, I've got a team of 2, myself and my producer. And this means we wear a lot of hats, we do a lot of work. It's very challenging to fund a film, and it means that you have to do a lot. So these things take a lot of time, but it's rewarding that you have full ownership of your project. That being said, where is it right now? So I'm in the very early development phases. The storyboard is underway. We've got our characters designed. Our world of story is underway. And our script is almost complete. We've been applying to funding bodies to try and get support on it. But there will be ways. There's always ways to do things. Opportunities are made after all. I have a fabulous set of friends and my team. So we have Diane Makings over here. She's my phenomenal producer who manages setting up like speaking events like this and helping me figure out my life. Peter Donahue is a fantastic sound designer who will be coming on later on in the process and who put me in contact with Clea Mallison, a script conceptualizer. What is my hope for this project? Well, I'm using Jungles as a benchmark to establish my own studio to tell other stories that are important to me. One of which, if you're interested, I'll tell you a little more about this one. But the idea is to get funding, establish a studio that empowers creatives to have ownership of their work with freelancers, and work remotely using the technology available we have to do so. I really hope for Jungles to meet young adults at the difficult places where they find themselves and encourage people to value their interests and their creativities. The mere fact that I was told hunter-gathering is not a career option just made me realize stories are important, they're valuable. So if you have a hobby that you sort of like cringe of, or I don't know what's going on there, a hobby that you sort of like shy to show to the world, just realize there's value in all of these things. And I hope that the story shares this. It's a little segment that's supposed to play here that just sort of shows the interaction between these characters as we flip between time throughout the story. So yeah, that is me.
Perfect timing, Jeani. Fantastic. Thank you for that presentation, Jeani. You ready for your Q&A?
Yeah.
3 minutes. Here we go.
Oh, awesome. Sorry, thank you. Awesome story. And thank you for your work. Sorry, I just need to stand to honor you. Because it really reflects the true nature of ourselves as human beings, as survival. At the end of the day, we are nature more than what you see on the external. I just want to know, are you open to working with other communities and other people in telling the stories, especially of people who are facing GBVF and also children? Because I find that with children, it's hard for them to express. So this is an awesome way to tell their stories and get them to heal.
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually been working on a number of films, working and collaborating with Khoi communities. Children are very close to my heart. A lot of this is like living through nostalgia and fulfilling childhood desires for me. So film is a collaborative process. I don't believe anything's made in a silo. So if people are interested, I'm always happy to collaborate.
Jeani, next one here.
Thanks. Beautiful story. Are you generating the images using hand or digital means?
So I am a digital artist primarily. So I draw everything very roughly on paper first, and then I bring it into Critter, GIMP, whatever I'm using for the day, and that's how I generally create my stuff. But everything you saw today is drawn by myself.
Thank you. Jeani, next one.
Hi.
Hi.
It's amazing, and I think there's a lot of value in your work. It almost feels to me like as a means of funding the project, the eventual film, there's so much to be. Can't you distribute it in terms of a comic book as a means to get some money for it, to further that project?
I have been looking into that, but I need to find people that are more informed on how comic books work for that to work. What I have been doing right now with the help of Diane is we're setting up to start like generating content so people can actually, we want it to be a process that helps as well. So one of the avenues we're looking at creating interest is actually having a sort of live view of the production. So people, if they want to learn about the storyboarding process, you can sit on a stream with me as I storyboard. If you want to learn about the visual development process for environments, same thing applies. So the idea is not just to make films, but to make communities around the films. And I think everything is like a community only works if you give into it. So that's something I'd like to do with this.
Jeani, we've got 10 seconds left, but just on that note, you know Korakoza is here from the African continent. Comic book exhibition right there. They do the most amazing stuff. Please go to the gallery. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much,
Jeani Varty.
Thank you, Jeani. Fantastic to see another digital experience in terms of the Pecha Kucha. Next, we have Mitch with more than 17 years of specialization in areas such as interface design, user design, product development, digital strategy from New York to Kalani. Welcome Mitch from Digital Kinetics as he shares things I learned accidentally. Well done.
Just the mic. Hey, everybody. My name is Mitch Said. I had planned to come up here and do a rap about this free car that I received, but I think I'm going to have to pivot actually a little bit, just too duplicative. But,
Mitch, you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
Cool. So thanks. When I was asked to participate in this Pecha Kucha, I thought back on my career as a digital maker in all its different forms. And I realized on reflection that I think some of the most enduring and impactful lessons I'd learned were actually things I'd learned accidentally. They weren't what I'd kind of planned to learn when I entered those institutions or jobs or experiences. So in a nutshell, my career went from being an artist to a web designer to a user experience designer to a design manager to a digital consultant and now some form of entrepreneur. Those are just other random white guys. I don't even own a black turtleneck yet. So I'm going to take you through 9 points in my career and the things I learned accidentally from them that shaped me. Starting off with my experience at fine art school at WITS. So when I entered fine art school, I expected to learn traditional art techniques, deep art historical context, which I did, but I also learned something else accidentally, which was how to make websites. So at that time, the arts department had a tiny computer lab. One of them had software called Flash installed. I taught it myself to learn how to make quirky animations. And way back when in 2006, it turned out you could actually get a job in web design using Flash. So I exited art school with that thing that my parents never expected me to have, which was marketable skills and a career path. After that, that wasn't my last experience in academia. I learned about a program in NYU, a creative technology program, which I applied for and was accepted to. So I started grad school in New York, where I expect to do a whole bunch of fun things with computers, which I absolutely did. But what I really learned accidentally was how to present my work and talk to people in an audience. I'd been one of those makers who really loved making things behind the scenes, behind the screen, just by myself. Don't look at it yet, it's not ready. And in NYU, it kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone and gave me kind of, I think, hopefully a skill in talking to people about my work. And when I graduated NYU, I think I expected to kind of be thrust out into the world outside an institution. And in New York, I thought there would be limitless possibilities. The world was my oyster, so much to do. And what I learned accidentally is that sometimes reality doesn't quite work out that way. It turns out I graduated into the depths of the Great Recession. Plans I had for collaborations fell through with financial tightness. Places I'd interned at couldn't hire anymore. So yeah, it kind of taught me to a degree. I did eventually find a job as a designer for a startup, but yeah, it taught me that reality is more contingent sometimes than what you plan. So that experience in a startup took me to Chicago, where I joined a small studio, working with new businesses to kind of develop their minimum viable products. And I thought I'd help them shape their stuff from the ground up, really be part of the early phase. And what I learned is that almost all kind of work, even if it comes with talk of blue sky thinking and limitless possibilities, often has something unsayable about it, an elephant in the room, a core problem, and no matter how much more additive work you do, you can't really change that. So that experience taught me that I wasn't quite comfortable with that. I wanted something purer that I could kind of shape at the core. And what that led to was back in South Africa in 2015 now, I got a job at ThoughtWorks, which was a company known for its kind of purest form of software development and also their selectivity in terms of the clients and projects that they took on. And what I learned there accidentally was actually something about myself, which was that surrounded by so many great people I really count as mentors, sometimes I think I was more anxious about appearing just as clued up and as smart as everybody else, that I didn't always ask the questions maybe that I wanted to ask. And so it kind of taught me that when you're surrounded by really smart and generous people, sometimes just ask them the dumb question, because you won't always get the chance later. After ThoughtWorks closed their South African offices, sadly, I went to work for a corporate where I thought I would maybe put on my big boy pants, at least as big as I get, and learn skills in leadership, take charge of a team, build digital things at scale for millions of people. And what I learned is that corporates actually value things you can measure more than things that matter. So I saw how corporates use targets, KPIs, goals, and how everybody incentivizes, that incentivizes everybody to shape all their work and their output to those measures and not doing work that might have otherwise intrinsically motivated them to do. So I learned something about aligning your goals with your purpose. After that unhappy experience in corporate, I joined a small digital consultancy with an ex-colleague where I thought I would take all this experience I had and furnish it to decision makers and help them make the best possible decisions for their organization. But what I learned is that decision makers don't want to be furnished with a whole bunch of options and pros and cons and yes and no and maybe and on the third hand. They're already thinking 3 meetings ahead of the one they're in now. So I had to learn to synthesize all that and compress it into kind of a single clear recommendation that I could deliver to people, and that was much more effective. And what happened subsequently then is this company, Digital Kinetics, we're actually working on an internal tool that we're now turning into a digital product, which takes those communication principles and kind of puts them into something you can use to generate presentations. And what I thought I would learn is that I thought I'd take all my experience and I could now do it for myself without all the compromises and all the politics and all the trade-offs. But what I did learn is that it's really hard to actually take your own advice. So when we'd seen other clients not launch early enough or do too much polishing, it was easy to kind of criticize them, but it's more humbling when you have something that's all yours and closest to you and your baby. And, then I had to learn what that was like for myself. And finally, my last lesson, I think, in making this presentation, what did I learn? Well, number one, I learned that I didn't take enough pictures of myself and my work through all my time, so I had to rely on all these crappy stock photos and things like that. But I think I learned something else as well, which is that I realized that sometimes I think I had to make space for these accidents to happen. So step into roles or places that I wasn't quite sure about, didn't feel quite right. I thought maybe just weren't me. And those ended up, I think, being some of the ones I'm most grateful for, that I took the most away from. So I think if there's something I can say, it's maybe try to make space for happy accidents in your life. And yeah, that's
perfect timing, Mitch. Perfect timing. We've got a couple of questions. We're going to start here, and number 2 and then number 3. Are you ready for that? Can we start your timer?
Let's go.
Here we go.
Hello, thank you. I will ask you the dumb question here.
Oh, please.
So I'm just curious that you, on your final slide, you said mistakes are just happy accidents. The last slide.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes mistakes have consequences, serious consequences. So can you touch a little bit on negligence, mistakes, and learnings? Because it's a little bit tricky.
That's a big one. Yeah, maybe that was a little bit too neat at the end. It's true that there are mistakes I did. There are things I did in my own career that were mistakes, difficult things that had consequences that weren't so easy to recover from. But I think even those taken in the larger view gave me something that I was able to incorporate into my next step or what I did from there. In my time in corporate, I certainly saw lots of mistakes and bad stuff that were served as negative lessons. You know, I knew what not to do by observing how I saw those things made as well. So yeah, I think there are real things as mistakes. There are real missteps. I hope, at least I've tried to find ways to still glean something from them. Hope that.
My name is Mac. I'm the creative director for 2 luxury brand. I like your presentation. You just taught me something. My mom always say perfection is an enemy to progress. And when I hear you finding your own mistake through your own process of developing yourself, and me classifying myself as a perfectionist has been a hardest decision to make, because each and everything that I wanted to do, I wanted to strive to make a perfect of it. And with that, it comes with anxiety. So many things happen. I feel like, let me scratch this dress. I don't have to do it. Let me do it again. But with what you have said, it's not for me to look and the wrong side of it. I have to admit and take it and build it up towards. And for that, I really appreciate it. So it's something that I can go with today. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, as I said, I think it is hard to take your own advice. I think some of my colleagues and other people I work with would be surprised to learn that I'm so happy with accidents when I'm correcting their spelling on something, or I said it's not good enough, let's go back and do another round. But yeah, I think it is something I've had to learn for myself, is to kind of find that balance between maybe what I thought would happen, what I wanted for myself, and where I found myself and what was open to me. So anyway, glad you got something from it.
Mitch?
Yeah.
Sure, thank you. Listen, I just need a bit of advice or maybe a bit of guidance. Né? So we just launched a stock footage platform. We just successfully launched the beta version of it. So my biggest concern right now, as much as we speak of digital transformation and digital arts, we find the very same artists who create this very same content do not understand this very same digital world we're speaking of. You find they fail merely to access a certain platform such as Shutterstock, where you can access stock content and stuff like that. And another thing, I come from a township and I come from a village. How do we then instill the idea of digital transformation in this fast-growing world into these places that are not privileged, into these places that do not have access to this internet and your smartphones and stuff like that? So, yeah.
Sure, that's an enormous question. I think absolutely true that, yeah, there's a massive digital divide in South Africa especially. We see it globally as well. I don't think I have any easy answers on to how to bridge that or where to start. I think some of it is maybe for people who do the kind of work that I do, is to not come into it with assumptions about what people have access to, what people are able to do, to actually, in everything you do, to start with who are you making it for, who are you serving, listen to them, go talk to them, immerse yourself in their world as much as you can to understand their mindset, their roadblocks, their lived environments. So I think that can that's been helpful to me in the work I've done, and not take too much as an assumption, and also maybe learn to sometimes check your ego. Some of the best people I've learned with have found ways to check their ego at the door and not tell you how something should be or what the right way is to do it. Let people experience that for themselves and kind of allow that to emerge collaboratively. So maybe that's a tiny inkling of that. Yeah, I think you asked a very big question. Yeah, maybe I've been able to give just a tiny bit of insight into that. But
Thanks, Mitch. I think at lunchtime you can unpack with him. How's that? Yeah,
that sounds good.
Thanks, Mitch.
Cool. Thank you.
Much. Thank you, Mitch. That's fantastic. As we get into the last presentation, I just want to highlight one of the things that we gift the world as a creative community is authenticity, is integrity, and honesty about the things that we do, but also the opportunity to learn and be in the spirit of our truth. So thank you so much, Mitch. So last but not least, and Cachucho today, we have the creative director for Fak'ugesi. I hope I pronounced that right. African Digital Innovation Festival, Eduardo. Cachucho, he gave me a lesson in that pronunciation. Eduardo is a creative director for the Fak'ugesi African Digital Innovation Festival. He's a program consultant, artist, and ex-architect. He has worked in the digital innovation and creative director over a decade, and in both local and international contexts, believing that digital creative practices are the key to sustainable empowerment in South Africa and across the countries on the, across the continent. Give it up for Eduardo.
Righty.
Okay, Ed, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go.
Morning all. I said morning.
It's actually just gone afternoon. Have you seen the latest AI language model? The level of response, the detail, it's just incredible.
That's great, Eduardo, but have you considered the biases and lack of diversity in these models?
Well, we're not well represented, right, in Africa, or as artists or as queer people. It's not quite there yet.
Well, AI models are mostly trained on data sets from the US that lack representation from marginalized communities and diverse perspectives. Most of these models can't really see me, my culture, or even my skin color.
You know, I've noticed some weird stereotypes and generalizations in the outputs of some AI models when it comes to representing me and my identity. Zim isn't Zambia, and black isn't African American. I mean,
as an anthropologist, I see how models don't capture the complexities of us, the real us with a capital U and S, but not the US. Mostly it represents the US.
So models are just reflecting the data they're trained on. Shouldn't we just focus on diversifying the training data with our own local content?
Yes, that's one part of the puzzle. We also need to incorporate cultural understanding and context into the model's training process, the process that refines an AI model. This is not something currently being optimized for by US tech bros, not us artists, us creative.
exactly. We should also make checks to stop stereotypes and biases that we know, for a fact, are in the training data sets. Because data sets are from humans, and humans are flawed.
Yep, we need diverse teams of experts, including artists, anthropologists, sociologists, and community representatives to provide guidance and oversight throughout the development process.
So we basically need to put our foot in the door and demand that we have a cultural voice in AI training and data sets.
Exactly. And it's not just about accuracy. It's also about these powerful AI systems not perpetuating harmful narratives that have no culture and humanity before they're even born.
It's our responsibility to create AI models that are specific in their nuance, diversity, and artistic expression. Models that are unique. Models that are us.
That's us, with a U and an S, not the US. We must prioritize creativity within AI development that celebrates and uplifts the actual richness of human diversity. This isn't a case of tech. Creatives are innovative. We create innovation. We've been doing this for all of humanity. It's not something new. So all of these characters are somewhat AI generated. Do you think it's Rudo, who is a West African black writer who does research on cultural artifacts? Or is it Sabi, an East African black man who likes to create paintings in his spare time, but likes to write about art in his creative work? Or is it Lodi, who's a Joburg-based black female filmmaker who's passionate about the city and representing it? Or is it me? Oh, sorry, let's pause. Okay, is it me, a gay creative director of an African digital innovation festival living in Joburg? I'm not sure, not too far apart, actually. So I'd like to take a bit of a vote here. Who thinks, and this is just about the text, who thinks Sabi is completely AI generated? Not many there. Who thinks Lodi was completely AI created? A little bit more. Who thinks Rudo was completely digital? Okay, quite a lot of you. And who thought I was completely, all my text was AI-based? Not very many, okay. All right, so you'll see in the mix here, for those of you who thought that perhaps Sabi was the one that was mostly AI-generated, you would be partly wrong. So for those of you, and I think most of you got this right, I mean, pretty perceptive, Rudo and all the text related to Rudo was completely AI-generated from start to finish. But this is not the only part of the story. So we actually created this whole script in unison. Lodi and I created and edited this script, and you'll see here the kind of percentages. Rudo, completely AI, Sabi, partly AI, Lodi, myself was partly edited, and Lodi's text was completely written by us as humans. I think the reason for this is also, you know, we're hard-pressed as creating a festival. We don't have as many people that we'd like to work with, and we used AI really to our benefit to be able to generate content quite quickly, but we really did have to heavily edit the concept. So Lodi and I worked on this presentation together, really like crafting the text to make a bit of a specific point on representation within this space. How we made it, we used ChatGPT for light kind of editing throughout the text. The voices, the AI voices were created by OpenAI, the voice modeling. We used Claude to develop the initial script. Meta AI was all of the images that you saw. We used WhatsApp, iMessages, Google. There is already AI interacting with all of these services you already use, and the presentation itself was made with Keynote and QuickTime. Now, this whole presentation is powered by a team. We come from Fak'ugesi, the African Digital Innovation Festival, and really our festival is about representation. We believe that digital innovation can't be engaged with in Africa unless it's connected with African creativity. We're coming up in October. Please come to the festival. There'll be much more engagement around AI there, and that's my time.
Thanks, Ed. Perfect timing. All right, you ready for your 3 minutes?
Yes.
And go. Question? Anyone? There's a question.
Thank you for the presentation, and I like how you set it up with essentially a Turing test.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an observation and a question. The more AI-generated text and images I think we have in our culture, the less we'll be able to differentiate. Do you think this is true, and what does that mean for things like the Turing test, where we're trying to basically rate the power of these technologies by comparing it to what we know as human expression?
Currently, I don't think it's true. We can very easily differentiate between AI and human outputs. I think especially with imagery, it's something we work with quite carefully at Fak'ugesi. We do not use AI imagery for any of our output, any of the designs. Everything uses designers, real people. The quality of the output is, you know, probably still a few decades ahead of what AI is capable of. It's very basic at the moment still. So I would say no, but we've got to be thinking about those problems because they are coming. Yeah.
Ed?
Yes.
This side?
Yeah, hello guys. So I want to ask if you said no partnerships and you have a team, right? So is your team AI generated or is just basically people?
So we do have a team. So Lodi is actually currently at the Gauteng Film Commission Summit that's happening in Sandton. We would have liked to have done it together, but we thought we'd find a digital solution to have her in the room. And yes, if you go to our website, you're able to connect with us. We currently have an open call out for our poster design and for our theme song, and that's for real humans only. You can use AI, but not entirely.
Thanks, Ed. Here was a question.
Yes.
Kelly.
Quick one. So you mentioned you're talking about representation in AI, and I wanted to know what is
What, according to you, is the first step to take to change that, and what is your part in making change?
I think the biggest part, I mean, and we couldn't really get into the full detail of this because it's very complicated, is policy and engage. We'll have also a panel a bit later, Will AI Eat My Lunch? We will probably get into more detail. It's really policy. It's about the conceptual framing. So it's really about getting artists and creatives and cultural producers into those processes, because the development of all of these models have been very tech-focused. And we need to bring the kind of human element. It can't just be automatically ingested by the data. You need to create these rules. Models are trained, and if you train them with cultural insight in mind, it will completely change their outputs.
Thanks, Ed. Perfect timing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much to KK, ByLwansta, Jeani, Mitch, and Eduardo, our 5 Picture Kucha presenters who've shown us the power of the digital interface in the cultural creative economy.